Order. We have a quorum here, and we'll go ahead and start with your pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm on the right page here. Go ahead and start with open forum. I don't see anybody here, so we'll go ahead and skip to the next item, approve agenda and changes to the agenda.
I just want to clarify, what I end up sending you guys is the agenda and how we should adopt it. So when I send it to Scott, the week prior, there could be differences what's published. I know it's different from what's published versus what I put in your packet. So like on your agenda, it says under number 9, there's an A and a B. So it's item B. And number 10 on your agenda, it's item D. Those were not on the agenda that I had sent Scott at the paper. Does that make sense? So when you see those, when I say changes, you're like, there's no changes, I already got that on there. Yeah, that's why. I give you the most recent up-to-date one when you do that, so.
Okay.
That's why it says preliminary on it.
Thank you. Appreciate that, so. That's all we have that, for that, Matt.
Okay, so I don't need to add anything there?
I don't think so.
Personally?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, so I'll go ahead and accept a motion to approve the agenda with changes.
Second.
Moved by Schoenfelder, seconded by Weber to approve the agenda with those two changes. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Move on to item number 6, conflict of interest, none listed. Are there any?
I have none, nope.
Okay. Item 7, approve consent agenda. A, approve financial reports. B, approve April minutes. C, approve claims. D, approve special education comprehensive plan. This is an annual requirement of the Department of Education. There are no changes to the plan. Approve resignation. The board will approve the resignation from Michael Freeman, middle school, high school, ELA. F, approve summer staff. R home, Chad Jadozzi, June social studies, Jennifer Bartelt, June ELA. Michael Freeman, July social studies, Carleen Weggehopt, July ELA, all at their daily rate of pay for hours.
And I think you got one more.
ESY staff, Lynette Gerlach, 6K through 6, and Rose Bell, 7 through 12. And other help, Charlton Keene, ground maintenance, sped transportation, Christy Bieber, custodial, student helpers, Reagan Munson. G,
Oh, go ahead.
declare surplus items. There are 28 Dell desktops and monitors to declare as disposals due to no value. Approve lane change request. There is a request by Sharice Culbert, who has completed the necessary course to make a lane change to be A plus 15.
I was just gonna say, the minutes are both the last regular meeting and the special board meeting, yes.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second it, Craig.
Moved by Weber, seconded by Prohl to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Move on to item 8, information discussion, staff reports, high school principal report.
Hello, been busy here. We got finals starting on Friday. At noon, we've got 2 of them that'll be going, and then Monday, we've got a full day, and then Tuesday, the high school goes about half a day, and then we start releasing them and checking them all out on Tuesday. So we're kind of getting to the very end there. Graduation is this Saturday. We have walkthrough on Friday, so the seniors will be done somewhere around 10:30, depending upon how fast we get through that process. We basically get the gym set up. We go through graduation about 3 different times. I go through their names about 5 different times to make sure we pronounce them right. And then we finish their day. They get to dress up in their attire, and then they go through the hallways and give 5 to the elementary as kind of a little send-off. And we've done that for the last 3 years, I think. It's been a great thing for the kids, both the elementary and high school. And the other thing that's really nice is I know every kid has their hat and there's tassel, and because they have to dress up. So it's kind of how we send them off. It's a good little thing, and then they'll get to go. So that's what Friday will be. And then we also have about 20 different things going on. Today I had a golf meet in Harrisburg, or Hartford. We have the junior high track meet, which if you haven't been out there, there's a ton of junior high kids. I don't know how many we have, but there's got to be close to 200, I would think. So that's going on. Tomorrow we have the SESD track meet in Gregory. I've got a junior high golf meet in Canton. Wednesday is our day to catch our breath. Thursday we have the Buck Timmons track meet here, which any help would be appreciated. I know we're constantly looking for people with the weather coming in. I know we're talking about a couple different options there also. And then Friday I have a golf meet in Mitchell. So it's a flood here right at the end, which is just the way it always is. So things have been going good. The last thing is, this is probably my last board meeting. I want to just thank everybody here, especially the support you guys have given me throughout the years. And past board members obviously also, but through the hard times and the good times, you guys have been there for me, and I truly appreciate everything you have done and what you do for these kids. It can't be stated enough what this board does for these kids year in, year out is outstanding, and just keep up the good work. I will always be proud to be from here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your years.
Yes.
So, so you've been a great asset here. So, the transition for you and
Mr. Knipling, he's going to be coming down for a week or so. I have state golf through June 7th, so I will for sure be here through that time frame. There'll be a little bit of traveling, obviously. Hopefully I find a house by then. Right now I'm homeless. But hopefully we can get that taken care of. And during that time, Mr. Knipling's already talked to me. He wants to come down. We're going to sit down and do a bunch of different things. I know Mr. Fisher's going to come down and help us so that we can talk through a lot of stuff together. So that transition, it's going to be rocky just because brand new to him and so on, but we're putting as many things in place as we can. He's going to be down here. I'm not going to register our home kids until he's here, so he gets to see that process. And we'll put in a few kids so he can kind of see how all of that works. And then I do have a list of stuff throughout the school year that he needs to be aware of, number one, and then how we've done it. Not that it's right, but, and I hate the phrase, well, we've always done it that way, but we've always done it this way. So, take it and run with it and do what you need to with it. So I think it'll be good, but like I said, it'll be a little bit rocky like any transition is. But everybody else seems to have a pretty good grasp of it, so that they'll be able to guide him a little bit too.
thank you for that.
Mhm.
So,
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Elementary principal and AD report. Do you have anything on that, or?
Yeah, just an update. Mr. Fisher's out finishing up that junior high track meet right now. He was going in on the timing of that. So really what he wanted to bring to your attention, obviously, just finishing up the school year like Mr. Norton's side was, but got several of the field trips, I think, had a lot of them, and finishing up. Mrs. Lechner is going to hers here. She's excited about going to Yankton, and if you weren't here earlier, she let us know that her kids actually get to go shoot crossbows in the world's largest archery facility. So I think that's pretty.
Happened today.
Pretty excited for those kids. But anyway, the last thing essentially that he's got is that I put it in my weekly update for you guys is summer school. And I think that's really coming to fruition. It's becoming more solid, and the numbers is impressive. Last count, he told me he was over 40 kids. So that's what we were hoping for originally. You know, in the premise that we talked about from an Esser's perspective, a little bit different approach. It's just the reading component here, but they have a structure in place. They have the days set. They have the time in which they're going to offer that, and the fact that they have, I believe, 40 people, moms and dads or whoever's committed to bring their kid to that program. So that's a good thing. And he just wanted to let me tell you guys that that's something that is going to be a good experience for our kids. So.
Okay, superintendent report.
I put in my notes there, I don't have anything much more in the service day. They had that on Saturday, and I see the sign out there. The schematic that I put in there hasn't really come to, or didn't get a chance to come to fruition, but there's another day on the 28th. So he looked confused, Mr. Bruning.
The sign, that sign up front?
Yeah, where we tore all the old shrubbery.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha. So, but they had, I put that schematic in your packet about what it was gonna look like.
Was that one of the landscape companies do that, or just one of the volunteers? Or?
So their VFW, their service day, they were gonna do that of themselves, and they're
Yep.
getting all the shrubbery or vegetation from, is it Nick's, is it Nichols?
Yep.
You guys-
Yep.
you
Okay.
know better than I do.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's who's doing it. They're actually doing the work themselves, so bringing some shovels and digging a hole and planting it. So we may have to put some rock out there when it's all said and done, when we ripped out all that stuff. I mean, there's some holes out there that are a little bit exposed, but, you know, getting a load of rock, I don't know that would be that too big of a hassle, I think, moving forward. School board election is probably the greater part of my report. I put that list of questions in your packet. I don't know if anybody had any feedback on those 6 questions. You know, why are you running? If elected, your priorities. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve? What particular experience or skills do you have prepared you to be a board member? What school district community activities or organizations have you been involved in? What difference or differentiates you from any other candidate or board member? So I'm in the habit. I've never had a lot of board meeting or board elections either. Craig tells me it's kind of a rarity around here as well, which is fine. But the fact that we have 4 people for 2 positions, I think it's a best practice if we get that information out there. And if we can use our website and our Facebook page in order to assist them with that. I just want to present this to those candidates, and it's their option, their choice. I'm not forcing them to do anything. They want to submit something back, we'll post it. If they don't want to submit anything back, then we'll just let it be. So I just want to know if you guys need any more input, if there's something there that as a board that you wanted to know or you wanted addressed within that bio or not. So, and if not, that's fine too. So if nobody's opposed to the practice. Okay. The HVAC lighting, I don't need to discuss that. Oh, just real quick on the hail insurance update. Craig probably knows better than I do. I think he's got all the vehicles out there now. And what that's gonna come back. I mean, we're looking at probably 5 figures, and it's not like the first level of 5 figures either. I think we're probably a little more in depth than that, Craig. Probably.
I'm trying to think here. The best scenario was like $4,000 on a van, 3,600 to $4,000. The rest of them were between 5 and 6 for the vehicles, and the trailer was 11,000.
So it's just a lot of
And there's
dings.
7.
I didn't look at them. Just a lot of dings in them.
Yep. Some of them, the one van, it's right on where the hood starts to turn, so the paint actually cracked.
So you got exposed metal there.
Yeah. So.
Question is, they have you guys. I mean, past practice. Craig tells me last time you leave the money and you put it in general fund. You left the vehicles as is, which that's fine. But you either take the money and then you put that towards probably new investment, new vehicles moving forward, or you fix them. I mean, the insurance pays you to fix them, that's what they give for you to fix them, that's the quote that Tracy's Paint and Body gave you to fix them. You either fix them or you, for lack of better terms, do you pocket the money and put it towards another resource from a vehicle?
Which vehicle, were you planning on trading any of those?
Not the ones that, the van one was already done the last time. So that's the next one to go.
Yeah.
The two black ones are getting close. I mean, they're getting about 90,000 on
I was
them.
gonna ask you how many miles.
The two gray ones aren't very, they only have 20 to 30 on them. As does the blue one. Those are our three newest ones. The Expedition's getting up there. That has about 90,000 on it too. So.
We're kind of looking for some direction there. I mean, we'll do whatever you want. If we want to fix them, then, you know, throughout the summer, I suspect he will put them, you know, take them down and, you know, fix whatever needs to be fixed.
Well, probably now is not probably the best time to be trying to buy used cars.
No.
I would imagine. I don't know if the market has adjusted any at all. Or
Well, we get
not, but-
there's a state bid out
Okay.
there that we always buy them off of,
Okay.
and then we go up to Mitchell and see if they would match the state bid.
Okay.
And the last four we've gotten have been brand new. Those two black vans and the two silver vans were brand new. The blue one was actually used. It had 10 to 15,000 miles. It's a little bit nicer, but he gave it to us for the same price as what it would have been.
Right.
On the state bid.
My opinion is that I think we at least should find out what the quotes are. For new-
Quotes.
For a new,
Oh, for a new vehicle, yeah, yeah.
and then see, I forget, we just outright buy those and sold
Mhm.
the other ones off, Craig?
We traded them in. He gave us
Yeah,
the
yeah,
trade
okay.
in.
Well,
I mean, the ones the last few that we traded in were the one went
Really ugly.
the water in a dish full of water. Remember the
Right.
Taurus? He gave us $500 for that
Right.
one. I mean,
I
the
get
ones. One of them we did do. One of the vans we did do on a sealed bid to get rid of.
So you declared them
Surplus.
surplus, yep, and then you went through that process and just added the return on that back into
But
the,
I think on that blue one we traded in and got a little.
yeah, I
money
thought
for
there was
that.
a combination. So then, my opinion is, I think you find out what the number is on a brand new one,
Yeah.
and let's see what a
what
couple of them are worth.
I mean, the last two we got were like $21,000. Those minivans,
Right.
and that was 2019. So I budgeted 30 this year. I didn't look at the state bids yet. I don't even know if the state bid's out yet, to be honest with you, for next year's vehicles.
I don't recall. the
I didn't
process
try to look it up. I
time-wise,
just
yeah.
knew that
The
it
thing
was going
about
to
the
be more
state
than
bid is
22,000.
they align that to one dealer. I mean, the dealer,
Whoever
there's
gets it,
usually
yep.
a dealer is who you
Right.
then essentially, if you want that price, that's who you gotta go through, so.
The last time when we went
Beck
through the-
Motors out of Pier is a good one.
and then the last one was Billion in Sioux Falls where we got the two black
Right.
ones.
And those are new car bids?
Yeah, brand new,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Then they're pretty,
Yeah.
they're simple
Yeah,
versions.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I would agree. There's no hurry to get those fixed. We got the whole summer to do it, so at least, take a month or so and figure out what
Yeah.
Okay.
the prices are.
Well, no, we got the other, you mean of the new vehicles? Yeah.
Thank you. That's what we were
Do you,
looking
Craig,
for.
do you have an idea of how many miles you put on a year, roughly?
Well, those silver ones haven't been, we don't let those go to the colony. We try not to, because of the roads. We try to keep a couple of them on the
Little.
nicer side
Okay.
for as long as we can. We've been making the black vans go to the county trips as much as possible along with the Expedition.
Okay.
And the reason why I take the Expedition is because it is four-wheel drive in the wintertime, and that road between the two colonies sometimes isn't the best. So those three have been going on the gravel and those trips, and that's why they're getting up there. They're 2015s, and they have 90,000 on them. So they're still 6-7 years old. So that's not,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's affordable.
12 to 15 a year.
And that's what you're driving your national average is about 12.
Yeah.
That's any
Yep.
lease or whatever is 12,000 miles a year. So, I mean, you're
It's
probably
not-
meeting that average.
We're not over
Okay.
the average. I mean, it's not like we're putting 25,000 a year on them.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure we're rotating vehicles. 'Cause
Yep.
I don't want to be at where we were before.
Yeah. And the worst one is definitely van one, but that just, right now, that's driving to Dimick and back to pick up students and bring them to school, so. One of those black vans will just move to that next time. The other one's been our driver's ed van, just in case. in case it runs into the hospital again or something. Right? That's,
I remember.
I do recall. Yep.
I keep waiting for an adjuster to come in here and say, have you ever thought of building a garage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Would you say twice in 12 years?
second time in my time frame that we've had this, yep. Since 08.
Anyway. That's all I have, Mr. Fleischner, for updates, so unless somebody's got some
I had a
questions.
question, probably going back just a step here, but summer help.
Yes, sir.
A lot of other years, and it's fine, what we're doing, but some other years you always had maybe 3 or 4 young people helping. And I just see we have one, so.
So far,
Okay.
we're
I just
I'm
didn't know.
still
if we-
rattling the trees.
Okay,
I hope to have a couple more yet.
okay.
At least one for sure.
I thought the work hadn't lessened any.
No,
around here, so.
No, we're still working on it. We thought we had 2 and one said, oh, I got a job already. Oh, okay, so we put it out there, so we're still kind of,
Okay.
anybody else interested here? And I just did get another app from another individual here on late Friday, so, yeah, I didn't have time to put it in there. But,
Okay, we'll move on to discussion items, number 9, and first one is the 22-23 preliminary budget.
And it is very, very, very preliminary, folks. I do have the salaries updated, but I don't have all the federal revenue matching updated and those things yet. So this is, I mean, really, more importantly, I would say, I look at the 2021 budget and actual, and the differences, and then I compare, 21, 22, we don't have the actuals done yet, but I give what we budgeted there, and then new going forward. And as you can see, I guess the revenue from federal is up a little bit, but I definitely do not have the ESSER funds in there and stuff. We're required by law to give it to you in May. It's a working document. This is what I have done so far. Anybody have any questions? In July, I'll have the big presentation and stuff like
So
that.
what do you use for enrollment, Craig?
I'm the same. I
Okay.
still just went with, when we did the talks for negotiations at that time, we were only down a couple, I
you
think,
used 514.
whatever it was last year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 514 was our number that we got paid on. So all the new money in the budget from a negotiations perspective, we built on 514.
Yeah.
So,
And I haven't changed it yet. I haven't asked the principals for the actual enrollments as of today. Because there's hearsay and there's not hearsay.
I hear you.
stuff.
we've had a little fluctuation. I would say that number is going to be pretty close, honestly, within 5 kids. I mean, we've had a little ebb and flow throughout the school year, but I know there's a couple kids leaving, but I think it's pretty safe to say, let's say 5 walk out, you're on average, you averaging 5+ new kids a year too. So I consider that essentially being a wash. Therefore, the 514 I think is a pretty solid number that we build that on. So
Anybody have any other questions, comments on the budget? Move on to B, roof maintenance agreement.
yeah, so I put that information in your packet about the proposals from ARS, a new company called Tecton America. I'm used to ARS, that's who I've worked with in years gone by on roofing issues. I don't want to recount the whole process as to how we came to those realizations and those discoveries on our roof systems, but ultimately, there's one proposal in there for a maintenance agreement where they actually come out and walk all your roof lines, everything, every facet, every flat, even the sloped, and just to make sure, they do that one time a year. You can see that agreement in there, essentially $850 a year for 5 years. I did that up there, past practice, and it keeps you, it'll catch a lot of things oftentimes, and I think that's been something that hasn't been done. I think, unless Craig corrects
No.
me, that it hasn't taken that approach. So there's that notion, and then there's the other component of that. We talked about the loose membrane that sits over the kitchen, and commons area there, that membrane, when it blows like today, it's probably elevated up there. There's like a 12-inch bubble. I mean, it's lifting up on days like today, so it's not adhered to your roof, and it needs to be put back down. And that's the number, that $11,000 number is what they're proposing. And now that keeps us under, by law, the bid component of that. We can, Craig, help me, 20, 50?
We don't have to go, yeah.
50? Right, 50, so. And with that, he's working on, which I haven't seen yet, something will probably maybe be back in June if I get the number. He told me the armory, and the day before we actually got our first rain, I had him come out, and he went up there. Nobody had been, he goes, anybody looked up there since the hail? I said, no. He crawled up there, and he goes, it's not because of hail. He said, but you got other issues up there. There was a 2-inch seam 3/4 of the way all the way across that armory that was exposed. So he goes, I can get here tomorrow. I'll get a crew out here and get it sealed back up for you. And he found the curb stops up there, 6 holes in the curb stops, and there was 2 holes at the south end of that armory that were big enough. If 2 inches rain that you got, we would have had some issues somewhere. So he sealed them all up. So I have yet to see an invoice on that. I don't, Craig, you haven't either. So, but anyway, replacing that whole membrane on that armory. He said the reason why it's doing it is because it's shot. It's the shrinkage to the point where it's just pulling everything apart. You know, when you're coming off your precipice, it's so tight, then it's creating those seams. So I said, well, give me a quote, and he said, all right. And I have yet to see that. Something we'll have to take a look at, but you know, I think those are not rainy day projects, but you have dollars in your reserve funds for situations that are unforeseen, that all of a sudden, hey, geez, we need to fix that. Yeah, you're right, we do.
So that's what they think caused the big seam, was just shrinkage and it just
Yeah.
pulled apart there. Okay.
And just the age of it.
Yeah.
He said that roof is, he said, you ever fixed it? Or had it
I don't
replaced?
ever
I
remember
said,
touching the armory
I
roof.
said, I don't think so.
It's always
remember-
been everywhere else that
Yeah.
we've always been worried about because that's where the leaks were. The armory's never leaked.
I can remember back in high school, they did it when I was in
They
high
did it
school.
when
Yep.
you were in high school?
Yep.
That might have been the
Is
last time.
there rock up there or no?
Yeah.
There is rock.
There
yeah.
is.
Yeah. So it's been 25 years-ish.
Wow.
And he said if you
Not
can
to
get
age you
25 out of a rubber membrane, a PDM membrane, he said,
Yeah.
you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
He said, but at 25 is really at the end of your lifespan. So, and I trust this guy. I mean, he fixed us up in my old school too. I mean, they do it right. So,
Anybody have any comments? I think the maintenance portion of it's a no-brainer in my opinion.
Is there a motion to join or approve that then?
okay, yeah.
Yeah?
So moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moved by Weber, second by Schoenfelder, approve the the roof maintenance agreement with ARS Tecta Company for yearly roof inspection services. Any other discussion? Do I need to put the amount in there, Mr. Young?
That's up to you. It's no secret.
Okay.
No, I don't care. It's 800 and
Yeah, I'd put it in.
Yes, that's for yearly roof inspection
800
services.
whatever.
850.
850 annually, right? For 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Do we want to, I'm assuming we need to fix those. I mean, right now, there's that other quote that's in there.
A separate motion for that?
I don't know. I
We need
mean,
a motion for that.
you
Okay.
just, it's more of an
Hard,
awareness that it's going to cost you.
Yeah.
And you've worked with that company before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have we ever had them here?
No, we have not, but
Okay.
when I did call Shane to talk to him about the roofs of, because the blowing, wavy one, which is what he kind of was dealing with right before he left, he even suggested this company at that time because he must be working with them now. No. So,
Yeah, I have no
Okay.
issue.
Thank you, guys.
okay, any other discussion? All in favor for the roofing or roof maintenance agreement? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Kind of on that same subject, is there different areas of the school where we could implement a maintenance program like that? I don't necessarily think it's your responsibility or the custodial maintenance staff to, be contractors too.
So, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, one of the things that I brought to you guys' attention way back at the beginning of the school year would be pest management, and you did that, right, about critters. I mean, I think that's a pretty common approach in many school districts. The other component, which I think is the greater part of it, is your mechanical. Now, knowing where we're at in the process of doing all your retrofit and your upgrades of your indoor units and your outdoor units, I believe that will be an opportunity once that stuff is installed, is to work with a vendor, an HVAC vendor, for a maintenance agreement. In my old school, we did have a maintenance agreement. They came out twice a year, fall and spring, and they went through every system on top, outside the building, and inside. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't, if something's broke or something's awry or a piece needs to be replaced, you're gonna pay for it. But they at least catch that and say this needs to be replaced. So it's, some people don't understand or disagree with the notion, well, what's the maintenance agreement for? Well, pay me now or pay me later. And if you pay me later, it might increase the ability to fix the problem by twofold, where, yeah, you paid for this on the front side of it, but instead of costing $1,000, it cost me $500 type of mentality. So that would be the other place that I would suggest we take a look at. But once that system gets installed, then we have an avenue to have a conversation with a vendor. And I don't know, I know Climate Systems, they are within our contract for HVAC, the upgrade. They are on the control element side of it, and I believe they have that potential ability to offer those services. So,
Do you think we'll have a warranty of a year or two?
yeah, absolutely. Yep, all that stuff. Yep. And I'd have to read the specs again, but it's built in there already, Mr. Prohl. I mean, there are those warranties in place. I don't remember the exact timelines on all the components and the pieces, but yeah, everything that's coming in there is coming with, warranties of some duration. So, yep. So that's a great question, but yes, that's what I would suggest at this stage of the game. So.
Okay, if nothing else, we'll move on to action items. A, South Dakota High School Activities Association amendment and Board of Directors ballot.
So I put those in your pack. We had a chance to review them, and we can go one by one on these, Craig, so you're gonna have to bear with me. here,
Yep, no,
because
that's always,
all
it's
of them-
one motion though, or do you want separate motion? We
Well,
usually put
because-
them all in one motion.
Yeah, but there may be some of those amendments where we have, instead of a yes vote, a no vote.
Yeah, I've got each one listed in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
However you.
Because we have just the one representative and then 7 amendments, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And then we do have the request for membership, so.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
okay.
Yep,
So the board of directors is pretty easy. I mean, Dr. Danielson out of Watertown, that's the only candidate there is, so, we need a motion, and if we approve him, fine. You're asking me if you need a separate one for that, Craig, you want to do them all at the end?
I was doing them all at once.
That's fine.
All in one motion, is that okay with you? So we want to vote yes for Jeff Danielson?
No, I don't know. He's the only one you
have a
got.
choice.
And I know Dr.
You don't
Daniel-
have to, and you don't have to vote for all of them, either, they said too.
And I know Dr. Danielson well,
Yeah.
so he'd be there.
Yep.
He's an advocate for kids, so.
I'll make that motion. Unless you want to wait till the end on all of them.
Yeah, let's
Let's
just
go over all of them and then wait.
Yeah,
till the
we'll
end,
go
maybe.
through them. The First Amendment, if you see the strike through, essentially, that's about application for membership. It's just getting rid of that initial fee. That's really all there is, and it's cleaning up language. So I would recommend that, yeah, as a board, you vote yes on that one. Amendment number 2, it has to do, I think it's clarification. The rationale says reflects board action beginning in 2022, reinstatement of membership dues. So I think because of COVID, they got rid of membership dues for a short period of time by board action. So I think this amendment is going to ensure that the reinstatement of those fees are going to come back to the members' school districts. So that's that. We paid fees forever. I mean, it's just the way it is, and that's part of how they generate their income. So,
But didn't they get rid of the fees because they weren't paying us back for reimbursement for state activities?
that was a rationale, one of the rationales.
Because they said, why are we trading money? Because he
Behind
just told us this at our business manager conference, and now there's an amendment to add it back, but are they gonna pay us back then?
Well, that does not clarify this. It doesn't give any.
Because what was happening was we would pay, what is it, like, it wasn't very much.
It's so much per kid.
Yeah, per kid, so we'd like write an $1,100 check to them. And then they would turn around, and every time a team made the state tournaments or state wrestling, we would get reimbursement rates. Like, we would get meal money, we would get a lodging deal for state track and all that. Is that a different amendment, Mr. M?
No, you're on the right, but let me clarify. I'm just reading it again, so it's my fault. This, bringing it back, each member school will have an opportunity to vote on the board of directors' recommendation with the majority prevailing. So now it gives the school districts the option to say yay or nay to the fees in which the board of directors says we're going to apply that fee. Now the membership will get to vote on that concept, yay or nay. So that's what Amendment 2 clarifies. Okay. So it's not a done deal, it just essentially says that schools get a say in the matter, where before it was strictly board of directors. Set the price. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe a little more clarification. The fact that we have a say in it, I would still recommend
Yeah.
voting for that amendment. Amendment 3, let's see. Board of Directors or Executive Directors herein provided in Section 10 shall have authority to waive the enforcement of the transfer rule. Oh, that's a cleanup of language. If you look down at the bottom, number 7 says no child left behind in NCLB with a strike through. There is no law anymore called no child left behind. So that's a language clarification. So Amendment 3 is a no-brainer. Amendment 4 has to do with, let's see, Section 10, control eligibility of students, Executive Director. Oh, the appeal process to those situations where eligibility is being called into question. There's some information about, 3/4 of the way down the first page. It has a strike through. All members of such an appeals committee will be superintendents, high school principals, activities directors, athletic directors, board of education members, or members' schools. That has been striked. What we're doing with there is, in the rationale, Dr. Swardos, if you read it, they process about anywhere from 80 to 100 hardship cases per year. They were getting into certain levels there that you see, where they were asking people, all superintendents or who's on the committee or principals or ADs, to render a decision on a situation where they really had no knowledge or information or background in order to make I think a very sound decision. So instead of putting the pressure on those, this actually came from our own membership, people sitting in those positions, because essentially he'd make a phone call and ask somebody to sit on an appeals, just out of random. I don't know rationale as to who he picked on those situations, but a lot of the guys don't call me. I don't want any part of that appeals, that student's decision. I don't want me to have to be able to do that, not knowing all the ins and outs and the nuances of the situation. He can share all the information for them, but they still didn't feel that was their place to be able to render that decision. So that's where you see the strike through of that information in that level 2 situation. And then there's a level 3, appeals from the 3 members of the decision. Well, getting rid of that again. So It's nothing that the Activity Association is pushing because it came from the membership. So if it's coming from the membership, I would suggest that we support the membership because we're part of the membership. And
So who is hearing the appeals then?
it varied.
No, if this would pass.
If it passes, it's going to stay at the Activity Association level.
Okay.
Yep. Well, at
It
the
says
board-
will,
at the board of directors.
appointed by the
Sorry.
executive director will consist of 3 members of the SDHA.
Board of directors.
Yeah, board of directors.
Okay.
Because they have a better working knowledge of those situations, those people that are on that board. Yes, they're principals, yes, they're superintendents, yes, they're school board members, because they all serve capacity there. Now, there's not gonna be that random phone call and say, hey, you wanna listen to this? No, not really, I don't. So, okay, makes sense? Okay. That's Amendment 4. Amendment 5, I think is just clean up, brings it into compliance. So students receiving alternative instruction, that law came 2 years ago. So that's just a change in language is all. So, and it brings us, we have to, it's South Dakota codified law that kids can participate in alternative instruction. So, item 6, I believe, is essentially something very close. 7th and 8th grade contestants, that also was a byproduct of alternative instruction. Again, bringing us into compliance, the association with codified law. So there's really no choice on that. I would recommend you vote for that. Number 6, yes. And then number 7, this where you may have some questions. It is the free and reduced lunch scenario where reducing a school's membership ADM based on the percentage of kids that qualify for free and reduced lunch. The math that is involved, and we are not the only school district that does that. I've listened to 2 webinars by Dr. Swartos on this. North Dakota does this as well as Minnesota. And they reduce schools' membership, and what that means is you could come down a class based on the reduction. Now, the number of schools this really affects right now in the state of South Dakota, there's 2 that are at the potentially at the AA level, going to compete with Rapid City and Sioux Falls systems, where they're 100% free and reduced schools. So the inequity to access to resources. I mean, I'll give you a scenario. Sioux Falls kids have access, look at the access they have to training facilities, not school-related facilities even. Camps. Help me, Mr. Bruning, what's some of the basketball?
Just the workouts and the,
Yeah, what are they, I mean, those
summer, well, they got that.
sacred hoops? And
Yeah, but they have that option though.
they don't have that option. That's what Dr. Swartos would argue with you. If they are free
But
and
if you're
reduced
saying Sacred Hoops
100%,
group, that group is not. They have.
not on the reservations. That's what he's telling you. The point is it could reduce your ADM. And it affected, I think, 7 schools right now. 2 that were should be double A, staying in A, and then there was a few on the borderline between A and B. And it does have to do with poverty. Well, it's no secret where poverty exists in the state of South Dakota.
So our free and reduced lunch at 30%.
30% is the multiplier. So if you have a 100% free and reduced lunch count, the reduction will be 30%. So the example that he gives you, a school of 400 enrollment in grades 9, 10, and 11, 100% of their kids are in free and reduced. The multiplier at 100% is 30% reduction. Therefore, your adjusted enrollment is 280.
But what I'm saying is we would be school 4. Because our free and reduced lunch percentage was 33%. So we would have to adjust our enrollment?
You can. Yes. But it doesn't, because you're not to the number you're not over the number. Remember the initial thresholds for classification, right? So Class A basketball is 89, right? So you're not anywhere near that. There's 7 schools on those bubbles of those thresholds.
But I was just looking at the adjusted enrollment, I mean, that's 30-some kids, though. That's why I was curious on the math.
Yep, so if it goes, the free and reduced is your 30%, that multiplier is 9%. And 9% of 400 as an end result of 364. Does that make sense? Is the math right?
I don't know, I'm just wondering like how they're, all the way down to 30%. I mean, we're ones that are 33%.
So what you're getting at is.
So we would get adjusted, but we still don't matter.
No, you
because
don't
it
get
doesn't-
adjusted. The only way you're getting adjusted is if you're on that threshold between A and B or A and AA. You have to be on the threshold.
So who defines?
Your 9, 10, it's
What's the
already in bylaw. I just told you, if you want to play Class B basketball, you have to have less than 89 kids in high
Yeah.
school. That's the threshold. The fact that you have 120, this will never be applied to you unless we have a huge reduction in ADM. It's 400. That's why they came up with the 400. Because if you have 400 kids and over, then you should be playing up from A to AA. And if the other one, the threshold is, if we want to pick on basketball, its threshold is 89. So 89 and below your Class B.
But once you get below
90 and
100,
above.
you might be within the threshold. Because 9% of 89 is around 8 or 9 kids.
You have to hit that threshold before this stuff even gets applied.
How far off of that 89 is the threshold? Is 90 considered a threshold?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
Yes.
What's the threshold?
No,
Where's the threshold at? You know what I'm saying?
no, it is, that is the threshold.
So if you have 90, you won't have to worry about it. If you have 89, then you have to worry about it.
Yes.
Let's see that. I don't know if that's,
So if you have
Fair,
401, even if you're 100%.
because if we were at 90, we couldn't use the multiplier, and the multiplier would have put us below.
They will look, yes. I mean, when you get to that number, they will take a look. I did not include the list for you of all 160 some high schools that are on here that fall into this scenario. I mean, in which you could apply this to 160 some high schools in the state of South Dakota. But this only applied to, I think, 7 schools.
And the threshold changes with each sport.
It does. Football,
It's male only, yeah.
it's male only, and it's 56 males in grades 9, 10, and 11.
And we are very close to that threshold.
We are. Yep.
And you could opt out of this, so let's say that we are at the threshold and we could decide, no, we're gonna
I
stay where
believe
we're at.
that, yep.
So you wouldn't have to do anything.
Yep. They give you that option.
So I guess,
So let's read rationale, okay? Let me read it. It says, we have a number of schools on the line between classification with large populations of students who qualify for free and reduced. In general, those schools and students have severe discrepancies in access to equipment and school personnel to outside training opportunities as compared to similar sized schools with low population of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. This multiplier is used in several other states, and free and reduced lunch percentages have been widely accepted as a major factor in athletic and activity success. The multiplier would allow those schools to remain in a classification level that is most appropriately reflects their opportunities. This is more about pushing schools into the next class above versus coming down. I mean, I can tell you it's the two in jeopardy of going up are Todd County and Lakota Tech. And they both have 100% free and reduced. So Todd County and Lakota Tech would have to go play AA schools, Sioux Falls schools, ESD schools, because that would be the class that they would be in. And that's what they're trying to address.
So this is an amendment. I see the strike-throughs. Is there additional
Yep.
language that's not coming through in the black and white scan?
Whatever you see at the bottom, Matt, those numbers, that is new.
Oh.
So the amendment is how we classify by enrollment. So you see the strike through that they got rid of, but a majority of the rest of that amendment that you see is brand new.
So what is your suggestion for us to
Right.
vote?
Well, I think he asked us as superintendents to advocate to school board members to consider it based on the merit of the ability for these kids to have access. Not where it affects you personally as a school district, like, is Parkston on the bubble? Or which side of it are we on? How is that gonna impact us? How is it gonna impact our neighbors? He asked us not to do that, rather than consider it on the merits as far as having access, Jill. So,
So if we vote yes,
Whether down the road.
then that means those schools that you listed, those two examples, would have to
Thinking
play
about
double
that
A.
when they decide to.
if you voted
The football side.
no, and the membership voted no on the amendment, then they would have to go play. If we voted yes, we're holding those particular institutions harmless.
Yeah, to me, I would have to agree, they probably have less access to those things, so I guess for me, like, how it doesn't impact me, and if looking at not impacting me, I would want those kids to have the best opportunity to compete, which to me would mean voting yes, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So Todd County, and I'm not familiar with the other school,
Brand
Dakota
new, this
Tech.
was the first year of it. It's on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation.
and they're that big.
So, okay, yes, great question. So, Ogallala
Yeah.
County,
Yeah.
that used to be Shannon County.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting fact. There was, I'm telling Lakota Tech was built 2 years ago, there was no high school in that whole school district. And
No
it's the,
public.
it's the
school.
only public high school in that particular county. They didn't have one. It was all satellite sites. They built Lakota Tech. That's where that population, are they that big? Yup. And guess where they're coming from? The private schools that are on those reservations, like Red Cloud,
The Pine
private.
Ridge.
Yep, Pine Ridge, private.
I guess I didn't realize those were all private schools.
Yes.
Me either.
I didn't either.
Yep. They're not public.
They're BIA.
They're
Which would be, is that why some seasons you see different kids play for one team versus the other? They can kind of shift around as they want?
Well, anybody can do that.
Well, through open
One
enrollment process, yeah. I mean, that probably had some credibility, to that. But since they built this new facility, a public school for the very first time in Ogallala County, a public high school, which they've never had before, it's one of those notions, quite honestly, if you build it, they'll come. And they did. And they come by large numbers to the point where it's pushing them into AA events. So, and I can tell you, so my old school district, they went out there and played football this year. They're not ready to compete with AA schools, let's just put it that way. Now, their boys' basketball was pretty good this year. But I don't
So were
think,
the girls.
yeah, their girls was too, right, Joe? But I don't think they were AA caliber.
No, I don't think so either. No, they wouldn't be able to. But they almost always, they are very competitive. They place high, at least,
Yeah.
usually. But
So I don't know.
So I can see the rationale when you just consider those two schools, but it's what happens down the road. You know, the
But
unforeseen.
Mr.
the
Fisher
unforeseen
did come,
consequences.
Mr. Fisher, I talked to you about, he did come from Minnesota had it because of the inner city,
Yes.
Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Sure.
It's one of the reasons why they did it, he said, too. So that's why Minnesota does it more than.
He saw it firsthand. I mean, Adam saw it, Mr. Fisher saw it firsthand, the notion of the disparity in access. So, I mean, I think if he was here, he would say vote for Amendment 7 and say yes to that. And obviously, the Activity Association is asking for the same support. It came from the Native American schools, certainly, but I think he's passionate about trying to equalize those schools' ability to stay in classifications where it makes sense. And that's how he would put it.
He just
But-
walked in. Adam?
Yep.
You got a second?
Yeah, yep.
You want to comment? We're talking about this Amendment 7 to the Southwood High School Activity Association. You want to
And
comment on that?
it's the
at
free and
all, or-
reduced lunch and reducing the membership by that amount percentage-wise, and your experience in Minnesota with that.
Yeah, my thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Sorry to ambush you.
I mean, from where I came from, I think there is value to it. But I taught with a demographic of, inner city kids that were truly didn't have access to the experience growing up. And so I think it was very important to consider because inner city, you could see they have high enrollment numbers. But when you take and cancel that out free and reduced numbers, it kind of balances things out. Where they couldn't compete with the biggest schools in Minnesota based on pure enrollment. Because a lot of the kids in that environment don't grow up, baseball, basketball, well, basketball kind of, but football, not growing up playing around, at a young age going to camps and different things. So to me, I see the merit in it. I don't know that, how it affects our community here, but I do see and understand where they're coming from. And I think referencing kind of more of some of the, maybe the reservation schools and different things like that, where, a lot of low income, poverty stricken areas, it kind of levels the playing field a little bit. I mean, or at least starts to make an attempt to recognize that there is some discrepancy there.
And that's all Dr. Swartis is asking you to consider it on that merit in of itself, rather than how is it going to impact the Parkston School District.
Thank you. My first notion was to table it for a month, but I see we don't have that option,
No.
so I guess anybody ought to have any comments?
I don't think it'd be a bad idea to vote in favor of it. I mean, I do feel that, for lack of a better term, some of these schools, like moving up to AA or whatnot, I mean, then just absolutely get trounced. I mean, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's.
for sure.
Will it hurt their participation potential?
It could
Because if
destroy.
I go, I mean, if I don't want to be exposed to that. I mean, why would I want to go,
Dangerous.
have that experience?
I mean, I think it's kind of, with what some of these schools are trying to do, especially on Pine Ridge and whatnot, I think it's in the benefit of South Dakota. You know what I mean? To see maybe an athletic program just absolutely just fall upon itself because of competition's way out of the league. I think that'd be.
The only thing I would say here is when let's talk about the sport of football. So they took the initiative to create the All Nations League, and that is strictly Native schools playing Native schools. They are no longer involved. They have their own structure, their own games, their own state championship. They pulled them out of our public school system because of the inequities that were happening to those, and that their programs were decimated because they lost those programs. Some of those schools couldn't field football teams anymore because of what you just described, Jed, is those kids were like, I'm not doing this anymore. Because they couldn't compete. Even with some of the public schools who we maybe deemed in and out, year in and year out, that you question even their competitiveness, you put them against them schools, and it was still a 50, 60-point blowout. So the disparity was huge. But they took the initiative to fix that issue by creating this All Nations League. And now they've all seen, I think every one of those school districts, their football numbers are up. because of that. They can compete. Those kids feel that they're, you know, it's supposed to be a game and it's supposed to be fun and enjoyable. It's back to that level for them. So that's just something.
I would agree with that, Mr. McKinney, I didn't talk about that, but also from, like, my perspective with that is the competitiveness. It's not so much that you have to win a championship, but winning some games, even going 500, kids want to come back. They want to put a little more time in now in the summer because they have felt that success. When you're competing against those schools that have all the resources and numbers against you, and you just are getting pounded, and you're maybe winning one game a year or something like that, kids start to quit and look for something else to do. I mean, that's very true. But getting back into that competitive, it's instantly like that hope is rejuvenated in teams, and kids come back out. And so I think that's a very good point for that too.
Okay, everybody's good with yes on that then?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And that's the last one, correct?
Yep.
So let's.
And then the last thing in that motion would be to approve the school board resolution authorizing the membership.
Yep, to compete. Yep, to belong to the South Dakota High School Activity Association.
So I'll accept a motion to vote yes on all the amendments.
And Jeff Danielson.
And Jeff Danielson as board of directors, and to apply for membership for the
Authorizing the membership in the
22-23 season.
Yep.
So moved.
Second all of our stuff.
Moved by Weber, second by Schoenfeld. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, we're on 10B, correct?
Yes, sir.
Approve administrative, certified, and classified contracts, work agreements. This is formality to approve the contracts for all employees. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Weber, second by Prohl to approve all contracts for administration and certified staff, and to approve the work agreements for all classified staff for the 22-23 school year. Any other discussion?
Just a couple questions. How'd the discussion go with the classified?
98% understanding and positive, receptive. How about that?
Better than
I anticipated. There's a few questions there, which I anticipated there'd be a few questions.
Yep.
And we had to sit down and have some clarification, but I think generally they understood the rationale is what we were trying to do there, so.
What is, can you refresh me, Craig? I know kind of where we started now, but where is, per year, what is the pay raise for classified roughly per hour?
per year. You mean this year?
Yep.
For the, I mean, I think the smallest person got 90-some cents an hour. Everybody got 6% from their salary. If that 6% did not move them to $15, they got moved to $15.
From here on out, well, how does that?
There's no scale.
That's
Okay.
So if we give 50 cents, everybody gets 50 cents. If we give 6% or 7%, everybody gets 7%. Where what we explained to them is the scale, the last 8 years, they got 53 cents guaranteed over 8 years.
It was prohibitive. The people that were at the end of the scale were not being held harmless. They were the ones that were essentially
Sure.
taking the back seat to those
The
that
newbies.
were on the
Then the
lower
first
part.
8-9 years, because they got a bump every year or two,
Went from every year
plus
to
whatever you gave for a raise. So, and this will allow you to give even amounts to everybody. And I did the work out 8 years to year 2030. I mean, even those top end people, they'll be a couple of dollars ahead if we just gave 3% every year. I did an average of 3% every year, and they'll be dollars ahead.
No, it's fine. The reason I was asking the questions is that I've been talking to some constituents in the district here, and they're concerned about pay to classified people in general. Wages out here per hour have gone up significantly. And so they're concerned, quite frankly, that we want to keep good classified people here. And so that's why I was asking the question if that was somewhat set or not, like I've been used to, which we aren't now. So we can address it next year on what we think we need to pay,
Yeah,
or what you can hire or can't hire people for.
right.
Well, and that's why we did what we did, is because we couldn't move the
Understand.
scale up to 15 without doing that.
That's exactly right, Craig.
And that 15 is on top of, or.
It's 1475 would be the starting wage next year.
Plus the benefits on top of that.
Yeah,
Which,
which we gave to them what that rate was. I can't remember. Do you remember off the top of your head, Mr.? The health insurance was like $7 an
I thought
hour.
you told us sometimes
$7 to
it's
$8
an hour in addition.
Seven
We
something.
showed them that essentially a new employee coming in, as if it was $15 an hour, plus they took the benefit. It was just shy of $25 an hour.
Yeah, with the South Dakota
We-
retirement part of it.
We tried to make them understand, you can go to these other places and make 16, 17, maybe even 18,
Right.
but you're not gonna get that benefit. They probably don't provide that benefit. So keep that in mind when you're making your decision about where you wanna be. You can say, well, I can go there and make $4 more an hour. Yeah, you can. You're right. I'm not gonna argue that point. Do they offer you this benefit? Well, no, they don't. Well, here's the total cost of that benefit. Here's the benefit to you. Essentially, add it all up, you're making just shy of $25 an hour. So,
I need to ask a question.
yep.
So what about certified staff? Are we filled? Are we,
Yes,
okay,
yep. Everybody's on board.
so there's no
2503.
openings? Good job.
Yeah, very good job.
That
I
was-
think last year we had, not this year, last school year, we had, I feel like I saw a lot of advertising.
As long as nobody jumps ship, I don't guarantee on that, but I think we're pretty
3 months
solid.
ago, it didn't look quite as rosy.
Well, I wasn't feeling very good about the whole thing, obviously, but I'm telling you what, I've talked to a lot of colleagues, and it's a war of attrition right now, because we're stealing each other's. Because there's no outside source to bring somebody in, because there's just no pool there. So if somebody, the only way you get it filled is you're stealing, somebody's coming from another district in state. And that's leaving you, so I just took yours, well, good luck, because you're not gonna find one, because we couldn't find one either. Nobody applied, except yours. So, and I feel bad about that. And that's what happened with our ELI position. They had reasons and rationale, which were sound, I felt. I'm not a big believer and a big fan of that. And essentially taking our neighboring district's employees, and it certainly is not our call. Those people applied. I mean, we're not going out and recruiting those people, but when they apply, I gotta take a look at it. I mean, and if this is where they choose to be through conversation and we think they're a good fit, then it's their decision, so. But it does leave your neighbor, because I've been the recipient of that too, like, and I believe it is what it is. You have to be, as an employee, I go to bat for you. I understand it. There's no hard feelings there. You have to do what's in the best interest of you and your family, so. We'll survive, we'll figure it out, and everybody always does, but it's just getting increasingly more difficult. How are you gonna figure that out? So, it's a good question, but yes, we are failed right now.
Okay. 10C, approve extracurricular resignations pending suitable replacement is found. Colleen Meddy, school play, and Craig Bruning, assistant track. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
10D, approve selection of architect engineering firm.
Yes, so essentially, based on our conversation on our interviews on Tuesday night, to make a formal motion to enter into a contract with Architecture Incorporated out of Sioux Falls for your support in bringing to the development of a new addition, and then clarifying within that the construction management approach, and therefore, if we're going to take that approach, again, understand we have to go through an RFP process to find that particular vendor. I've visited with Steve Jastrup and had a phone call with him on Friday. We finally connected, and he was thrilled, is relishing the opportunity, and talked a little bit about the timeline. Thinks that even by the end of May, 1st of June, we can start having some of those conversations. His philosophy is, I said, well, we don't have a contract, Steve. We won't be able to. He said, I don't work that way. Of course, he's part owner, and he said, we believe in school districts will do what they're telling us they'll do. So we can come and we can start having some conversation about how we want to proceed. I think what lies in front of us as a school board, you guys as a school board and us as a school district, are some of the things that I pointed out, is our approach. Do we want to take this committee approach where you have some people according to, and that's why I put policies, a couple, 2 or 3 policies in your packet, because you do have new construction component to your policy manual, okay? And there's like 13 different items in there, and I only put 2 or 3 in there that I felt would apply. I think it's my job to let you guys know, hey, as a board, you do have policy that governs this process, right? So at least you're in the loop. Now, are we abiding by what policy says here? I think so, but I think the biggest part that's hard to wrap your head around is everything is really kind of applied to a new school. And we're not trying to build a new school. I mean, we're looking at an addition for a purpose that is the extension of school purposes, is what I would call it. But it says on 703, it talks about committees of coaches, teachers, I put coaches in parentheses, administrators, consultants, maintenance techs, citizens, so all it says is consultation. And then it has this whole stipulation of, things to, one, you guys as a board, take into consideration when going through that such process. So I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that. Having them on the committee, it doesn't necessarily say that, but other than much as it is about taking feedback from all constituents. And I think Mr. Jastrom at least alluded to that probably a good practice, I suspect, if we want some feedback from those particular groups of people. Can they be on the committee? Absolutely. Do they have to be? I don't have to be. I don't see that in there, that it's mandating that or drawing line in the sands and dictating that to you as a board. And if you guys want a committee approach where 2 of you are named to that committee and help with that process, and it's going to be a couple weeks, I think, process about every couple weeks in meeting and having those conversations about bringing this thing to one schematic. Remember the thing he showed you, schematic, what it may look like, and then it starts drilling down into the process from there. So one question that you asked me to vet with him is, what if we get through this process and then it doesn't pan out, right? What's that cost? Interesting answer, because he cited 6.5% of the project, right? Remember their fees? I said, well, Steve, it doesn't get to that point. How do we know what that number is that you're going to put 6.5% on? He said, again, we trust schools. We will come up with a number that you guys are agreeable to. He said, now I will tell you, a majority of our work from an architecture's perspective, 75% of it is the front side. It's front heavy. The planning, the schematic, the drawing, the conversations, to get it to a point where this is a true rendition of what we were hoping for and what we would like. So wherever we're at in that process, that essentially is where they determine cost. And I said, well, still, how do you determine what your cost is? We look at similar projects, he said, but ultimately it comes down to entering into a conversation as to what's a reasonable number for the amount of work and time that they put into it. He said, we can justify the work that we put in it. And he said, we can give you a number. He said, that's the best I can do for you if it never gets to that point, because there is no finality in the number if it doesn't get that far. So, in the construction management at risk portion of it, that vendor, essentially, they submit their proposal, which we've talked about. The percentage whatever percentage they put in there. But he said, past experiences, I can't speak for those companies, he says, but typically it's the same process. Wherever they're at in the process and helping you do that, you're gonna have a conversation about if we pulled the plug on the project, yeah, but we got this amount of work into it, this is what you owe us. And it's not like drawing lines in the sand, it's, okay. I don't know how to answer. I mean, it didn't.
So back to your earlier comment, you said we don't have a contract. Obviously, we don't have a contract until we make the selection and approve it. Is that what you were referring to? I mean,
Yeah, and
once we approve that, then
Yeah,
there'll
I
be
mean,
a
if
contract.
that took June, essentially we don't have to have a special board meeting, but if we start the conversation before that, he's perfectly fine with that. And then he said he'll send me the contract. He's supposed to send it to me by Wednesday, that we can sign, and then get it approved. He said, we don't have to go have a special board meeting to do this. We work with school districts all the time. Approve it in June. So we can move forward from that perspective. And he said he could help with the RFP template to put out there like he suggested. And I've talked with Pitts Construction, and only from the standpoint of let them know that you guys decided you're going to make a decision to contract with Architecture Incorporated in order to do the design process. So whether they throw their hat into the ring for the construction management at risk opportunity, which pretty positive they will, then we will have that conversation with that Pitts Construction if they do submit a proposal for that component of it. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Are we talking
I guess I have a couple questions. Did we have committees when we built, this is before my time, but like the NPR, did we have a community or people from the community on a
That was
committee?
Right before my time.
Okay, how about the
The
stadium?
NPR was all part of the elementary, when the elementary was added on.
Okay.
So probably, I would guess, that was
Yeah.
built in what, 2001 or 2, I think is.
It's been 20 years.
Yeah.
How about the stadium? When we did the stadium, did we have a committee or how did that?
Yes, but then we didn't have very many, I don't know, there was no community members on that facility out track and locker.
Yeah, we had a couple.
Who were
The
they?
elementary building, we had 2 different committees for that. And then I think with the stadium, we had a committee that had 3 or 4 members from the community.
That's true.
Had a board member or 2.
I don't know.
And then administrators,
Yeah,
I think,
don't
were,
remember, but we did have a couple.
yeah.
too.
I'm trying to remember who they were off the top of my head, but I do remember a couple community members.
Martha, Terry Leishner, 2 of them.
Okay.
The
I was just
reason know
curious.
that is 'cause
On that one out there,
on the
Terry was?
stadium, Terry, and with the locker rooms, Terry
Yep.
was there, Ryan,
I
Martha.
remember Terry there.
Yeah, because I remember Ryan talked about with the stadium not being able to see lane 8. That was something none of the people thought about, but he was thinking of it from a track standpoint. It'd be
Yeah.
great for football, but remember, we had to
Yeah,
make
but I
that
do remember
adjustment
that now, when you said that, yep.
So,
Okay. And
There wasn't very many meetings.
do we need a
No.
key, like if we decide to go with the committee route, do we
Yeah.
need that formulated
2,
before
3
we
days.
enter into contract with somebody, I guess? Or not necessarily, we
I
can
don't
kind of
think
start
so.
this
It
process
truly,
and
yeah,
formulate your
right.
community.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
truly your guys' decision as the 5 elected officials of the school district to say yay or nay
Mhm.
to go forward with the process. And if you do that, which I think you guys are willing to make that statement tonight, then putting together that particular approach, then it certainly can happen,
Later.
after the fact. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see any repercussions
Yeah.
with that process. So
Mhm.
I think part of that process, what I would suggest is, we get school closed down here and get us on that pathway that, we'll put information out there. Hey, we're having an informational meeting on the notion of,
Mhm.
this concept that we're, as a school board, we're looking at from an addition perspective. We're taking, give them an idea what it is, reasons, rationale, come with a little proposal, not proposal, but a presentation, and then just hear what they have to say about it. And that's where, yeah, it may seems like we're maybe a little bit cart before the horse concept, but ultimately still it's school board's choice to follow through with that. I think, just being here, not even quite a year, I mean, I think it's a notion that has been, Eric and Craig can speak to it better than I can. I mean, it's not a brand new notion. I think there's enough sentiment in the public that I've been told that I don't know that you're gonna get a drove of people showing up with pitchforks and flame and torches to say, oh my God, don't do this.
Right. No,
I mean, you guys speak to that better than I can about what the public's perception, at least the patrons who have kids here, about this idea. I don't think it would be frowned upon.
I don't,
Nobody's given me that indication
No, I got
anyway.
positive
until a
feedback.
dollar amount comes out, everybody's for everything. I think it's a safe way of starting it. So right now, it's a great idea, depending on what that dollar amount is and how quick it goes, plus how well the board can afford to pay for whatever that dollar amount is. We all know the community's highly supportive of things that we do. They're very proud of the facilities we have. So I think that will probably be the bigger thing is don't do it halfway. If you're gonna do it right, make it look good, and then as long as it's not gonna cost me a lot, I'm probably for it. If it's gonna start costing me, then we'll have to start talking, but.
Because that's the one thing I've heard is when they did the NPR, not having the bleachers on the sides and things like that, that they didn't think about.
Yeah, well, and some of that also was cost. That was a big thing because, number one, we don't need a second gym, so then it became a multi-purpose room. We had linoleum down. It took private donations to get the wood floor in. There's a big board that's up for that. So those are all considerations that, come in with it. I don't think anybody said we didn't need an elementary at that time, but that was a lot of money and, certain considerations. Because that did affect taxes and so on back then.
So good questions, Lindsay. I mean, I don't know if I answered them appropriately or to the depth of which you were hoping for, but so, I mean, that would be my suggestion to you guys as far as the process to follow here. And Mr. Jastrom said, there, even if we, because he told us that they wouldn't really be able to do any work moving forward until essentially mid-June. Did I get that right? If I remember
July.
his-
Was it July?
Was it July or was it June?
I think it was,
Or was it June?
I want to say it was June. To really get into it. Not that they're not willing to come and meet before that, he said that. To start really putting some of this thought process down,
So to recap, you're suggesting have a public meeting sometime before next board meeting?
I think we can get it done.
And if we don't get it done, then we'll just wait till the July meeting to approve the contract, or will you want to approve that contract next meeting for sure?
The fact that we put them on notice that we would like to pursue a contract with them and require their services, I think we'll have that contract for the June meeting regardless. I mean, do you have to approve it? No, you always have the right to say no. And again, start exploring that whole process. But
Do they need to be a part of the community meeting? Like, do they help guide anything or
Yes.
questions?
they would very much so be. He told me that. So
But then do we want to wait till after we approve the contract for the community meeting, or they're good with being part of it before it's approved?
That'd be my vote. I think we get the contract signed.
Yeah, I guess so, me too.
yep, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, and I think he still gives you enough time, Jill. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're not gonna have a lot of time invested if
Right.
community meeting goes
Yeah.
south totally, we
Yeah, if it
can
turns out to be a mutiny.
shut it down.
Oh,
Right.
boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Shame on us.
Sorry. Yeah. Right. Sorry.
Okay, so do we need a motion then to select them, or or?
Yes, we do,
Okay.
because we never have really formally put that
Okay.
out there, that a motion
To approve the hiring, right, of
Yeah,
Architectural
hiring of
Inc.
architecture
For architectural
incorporated,
services.
yeah, for professional services.
Or for professional services.
Design services, put that in there.
Okay.
And that's all you have at this stage of the game.
So moved.
So moved. Go ahead. I'll second it.
Moved by Schoenfelder,
Jim, Jill.
second by Jill. Second by Nebel, to approve the hiring of Architectural Incorporated for design services. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, that's all I have. I don't believe there's an executive session.
No, sir.
So I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second Craig.
Moved by Weber, second by Pearl, to adjourn at 7:58.
We beat.
I can't believe it.
We beat it.
You are kidding me.
Sorry, second by
So
Pearl,
there you
right?
go.
I'm so excited that second by Pearl to adjourn at 7:58. Any other
Rub
discussion?
your nose in it a little bit.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Did you make next month?
I got fired.